Unfortunately, this episode of the Big Sleeter show has been cancelled due to complications of development. Our cameraman's violently ill, he has 6 weeks to live. Oh man, I can't wait for the Sonic game to come out, is what I would say if I cared. Imagine being so excited after reading about a new Sonic game in the works, only for years later to vividly think about it in your head and find out it was cancelled before release. So who other than a stupid, dumb, neurodivergent man-child like myself to talk about cancelled Sonic games? Does anyone else want to do it? Let's be real with ourselves. The Sonic franchise has been around for 35 years. There's probably a lot more canceled games than we know of. So this is just a chit-chat about the ones that we have semi-research on. Or if I could just yap about it, then that works too. If I see comments about how I missed Sonic 4's unreleased DS port, I will read it and say, wow, I can't believe I didn't cover that, and then pop champagne over the fact that it didn't come out. I also won't be talking about things that are very much just tech demos featuring Sonic. For example, if I don't mention Sonic Crackers or Sonic DS, it's because they were never meant to be released and are just, you know, tech demos. So starting off with the first canned Sonic game, Sonic's Edgesoft. I don't know what you see in a blue hedgehog that screams, dude, what if he taught my kid? Developed by a company known as Tier Tech, Sonic Edgesoft was an education game planned for the Sega Master System made without acquiring any rights to the Sonic IP. Tier Tech developed it with the idea that Sega would take interest in the project, because Sega would have taken interest in an educational game featuring their edgy Mario, so the project was scrapped. However, the game was leaked online and it is playable on emulator. My honest review? Go gaga. Another early cancellation was 1992 Sega Sonic Brothers. Sega Sonic Bros was an arcade game designed by Bubble Bobble's creator Fukio Mitsuji, or known as FTJ. Like Edgesoft, it was pretty much finished and ready for release. However, after failing a location test in Japan, they just opted not to release it. Also, like Edgesoft, the game was publicly dumped online for all to play. It's a cute little match the dots puzzle game, but also I don't know how to play it, so I like Sonic Eraser more. Sonic 1 and 2 were released exclusively for the Genesis. Dip a paper towel in a bucket of water and the paper towel gets wet. So were they always meant to be exclusives to these consoles back in the day? No, actually. Well, I can mention Sonic 1 and 2 on Game Gear, but the Game Gear games are for another time, don't worry. Sonic 1 was actually supposed to have ports for the Amiga, Commodore 64, Atari ST, Amstrad CPC, and ZX Spectrum, all being developed by US Gold. Not much is known about these ports. Sega most likely scrapped these due to rising Genesis sales due to Sonic's success, them wanting to keep Sonic exclusive to Sega consoles. Another port of Sonic 1 planned was a port for the Sega CD alongside the second game as well. Both were scrapped and reworked into what is now Sonic CD. Whether you're happy or not, this is completely up to you. Another unreleased Sega CD game was Sister Sonic. Okay, it technically released, but not as a Sonic game. Basically, the story goes, Sega was localizing a game known as Popful Mail to the West and had no faith in the Western localization whatsoever. So they thought as a means to get people to play it, they would replace the cast of Sonic the Hedgehog characters, the main character being Sonic's lost sister. This announcement, however, did not favor with fans of Popful Mail, and so outcry began about how Popful Mail should just be released in its original glory. So Sega caved in and did just that in 1995. I wonder what YouTube would be like if Sister Sonic came out. Did you know that Sister Sonic's actually a Japanese game known as Popful Mail? It's just the Mario 2 Doki Doki Panic shit over again. History's like Sisyphus pushing that damn boulder. Also, I think it's funny that Sega were always just pussies. Here's a game that if I said it was a reskin of Popful Mail, it would be a lie. Sonic 16, a spin-off game developed by STI based on the SatAM cartoon back in 1993. It was cancelled because it looked boring. No, Sonic 3 was split into 2 parts with Sonic and Knuckles releasing 6 months after the first half. Well, Sega was apparently planning on re-releasing both games as one single 24MB cartridge back in 1994. It was if you took the Sonic 3 cart, put it on the Sonic Knuckles cart, smashed the outer casing, put a new casing on it, that's what this game was. Sega thought it wouldn't sell because why would people buy these games a second time? Look, I guess one of the greatest 2D platformers of all time in my opinion, but you know, I don't think I'd want to buy it twice. There's other things I have to buy. I have priorities. I need Dunkin' Donuts. I live in Massachusetts. But now that I think about it, if I saw Sonic 3 Plus and Treasure Tales on the shelf together, I think I'd pick the former. Treasure Tales was an isometric puzzle adventure game starring Tails. Pitched by STI. There's one screenshot and it's just a mock-up screenshot. There's also Astropede, another Genesis game and a spin-off for a character from the Sonic universe. Pitched by STI. It's pretty much noted for just using Hidden Palace from Sonic 2 in its prototype. And they fucking canceled it? Sega Sonic Cotton Candy Scramble. No wonder why this company nearly went bankrupt in 2014. It was just a cotton candy machine with an interactive game, like a sweet version of Sega Sonic Popcorn Shop. Sonic Sports happened. Fuck you, Nintendo. It was a 32X game resembling Acme All-Stars. It had Sonic staples such as Sonic Tails and all-time Sonic veteran Rystar. And here's the part you were probably waiting for. The quadrilogy of 3D Sonic fails of the mid-90s. Untitled STI Sonic game was created by Chris Sen of STI, and this is the only image of it that exists. It looks like if 3D Blast were going to be a good game. Pitched by STI. Sonic Mars, on the other hand, looks like fucking shit. It was a 3D action arcade game that was developed for the 32X. Pitched by STI. It was a mock-up animation created by Chris Sen, and Yuji Naka said the most iconic line of his career. Good luck. It was reworked into Sonic Extreme as the project was just too much for the 32X to handle, and also the Saturn's like right fucking there. And here it is, guys. Sonic Extreme. Not to be mistaken with Sonic Extreme. This is Sonic Extreme. Pitched by STI. Sonic Extreme was basically cancelled for being too extreme for the development team. The game would have been split into 4 gameplay styles, with Sonic having 3D platforming levels, Tails having first-person flight levels, Knuckles would have top-down and side-scrolling gameplay, and so would new character Tiara Bubowski. Tiara fucking Bubowski! The development for this game was just fucking horrific. First, the development was going smoothly with the PC port. Then when trying to port to the Saturn, the game would run in 4 colors and run at 3 to 4 FPS. Then Christina Coffin, who was hired to develop the boss fight engine, impressed execs with that boss fight engine, and they requested the entire game to be created with that engine. Then they wanted to use the Knights engine. Executives said, consider it done, and then Yuji Naka becomes an emotionally abusive ex-boyfriend and threatens to quit if they use the Knights engine. He did it anyway 10 years later. Coffin got pneumonia, Sen got hospitalized. It wasn't going anywhere. They eventually canceled the game, and when Sen tried to finish the game for PC, he was told to shut that shit down, Buster Brown. And the game officially closed development officially for good. I'm not gonna go into the full development history. There's plenty of videos that go through the struggles STI faced while making the game. This was just a summary, I guess. But what STI didn't struggle with was the second 3D Sonic game developed for the Saturn titled Sonic Saturn. It was notable for being immediately shut down by Naka and the impressive special stage that was planned for 3 completely different Sonic games, and none of them used it. Pitched by STI. For all the games STI pitched, only to be told no, you gotta think we'd be talking about a sexually transmitted disease. Also, STI is gone now, let's move on. Sonic Riders was originally supposed to be released for the GBA, developed by Backbone Entertainment, and was similar to Outrun, released by Sega in 1986. It was cancelled by Sega of America after Sega of Japan requested that it be a 3D racing game instead. Fuck you, Backbone. Sonic the Shadow World was a PSP game that was cancelled. Sega's a fraud! Shit did not make initial pitch. That's how bizarre of an idea this is. Climax Studios, you were at your climax. I looked them up and expected to see them actually gone under, but they're still kicking. They made Crayola Scoot. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. Sonic Extreme is a skating game. No, bigsleeter. It's the canceled 3D Sonic platformer developed for the Saturn. How silly you, dumb bitch you are. I'm not talking about Sonic Extreme. I'm talking about Sonic Extreme. Though it doesn't help that when STI got Point of View to help port Extreme for the Saturn, they just called it Sonic Extreme with an E. I don't know why this one was cancelled. They found it in an Xbox development kit in 2011, and that's the only reason why we know about it. You could play it on emulator. It's not great, but you could do it. You know Sonic 06, that bad game I did an even worse review for? Did you know that it was planned for the PC and Wii? The PC version was scrapped because of critical reception to the PS3 and 360 versions, and the Wii version was scrapped due to hardware limitations and went on to become Sonic and the Secret Rings. Speaking of 06, there was a planned sequel to it titled Sonic the Hedgehog Awakening. Not really confirmed to be a sequel, nor is anything else confirmed about it other than the game was in the works and was developed around the time of 2006 to 2009. There's no screenshots or videos of it. The only proof we have is Pete Cabela's website listing the project. He voices Silver. Dude, I could already imagine the Sonic Sucks episode that would have came out if it released. And also, speaking of Secret Rings, there was a planned 3rd entry in the storybook series, but was scrapped most likely due to the mixed reception of Black Knight. I know people nowadays want a new storybook game, but let's be real. No, you don't. Sonic Chronicles 2 was robbed. It was always known that a sequel was always in the works. However, with how Chronicles ended up, you might think it's because Chronicles wasn't, good. But that's far from the truth, actually, because critics didn't even hate it when it came out. Chronicles 2 was revealed that it was actually far along plot-wise. Ken Penders sued Sega over his characters. Because characters that Ken Penders created were in Chronicles, the sequel had to be scrapped. However, I wouldn't mind a reboot to Chronicles. I've always wanted a Sonic RPG and one that's actually good. It's kind of sad, but what are you gonna do? Also, I'm pretty sure that EA's acquisition of BioWare also has a major factor. Is a major factor that plays into it? I don't know. Sonic Generations released in 2011 to critical and commercial success for Sonic. It's crazy to see the Sonic series without this game. A game so well beloved in the scene that it brought fans that wanted the character to succeed together because it was truly something special. If you had a Wii, DS, or PSP, you were fucked for the game. But if plans did go through, you might have been in luck. Wii, DS, and PSP versions of Generations were planned but ultimately scrapped. The PSP version only remains on a very damaged disc, which I think we ripped like 4 things out of. And the Wii and DS versions are rumored to have turned into Sonic Colors in 2010, another game that was critically successful. Sonic 4 sucks. But did you know that the second episode was planned to be released on Windows Phone? It wasn't. but it was planned. Sonic 3 and Knuckles was also planned to have an iOS port. Christian Whitehead, who led the development of Sonic Mania and the remasters of Sonic 1, 2, and CD, released a proof of concept for Sonic 3 and running on iOS. However, with the whole MJ fiasco with Sonic 3's soundtrack, Sega just didn't go through with it. Though luckily, Sonic 3 and Knuckles was added to Origins with the music replaced. Don't play it for my sake. Sonic Central is an unreleased app for your phone that was described as the one-stop shop for all things Sonic, featuring exclusive art and wallpapers, character information, clips from the Sonic Boom animated series, concept art, and info on the latest games. The app was also planned to include the Sonic Pics function, which would allow users to edit Sonic and his friends in their photos. It was planned to be released in summer of 2015 alongside Sonic Runners, but just never released with zero reason as to given why. Honestly, I feel like they scrapped it due to the fact that it was just a novelty app that had zero reason to exist other than Sonic Photoshop. If plans did go through, the app would have been discontinued just less than a year later. They cancelled Sonic 4 Episode 3 because Sonic 4 was bad. In 2021, Nitro revealed that they had planned on making a version of their game Leap Day themed around Sonic titled Sonic Day. It was planned to have wall running, which wasn't in the original Leap Day, and it was pitched around the time of Sonic Mania. However, Sega didn't see potential in the project. The wall running move was well liked by the company, however, and it made its way into Leap Day's sequel, Super Leap Day. And did you know that the developers of Mutant Mud's Renegade Kid were working on a 3DS port to Mania? However, the project was scrapped due to Renegade Kid shutting down. And while I guess we're on the topic of Mania, Mania 2 was planned to happen. However, the project fell through even before the conceptual stage of the game after creative differences between the Mania developers and Sega, which I might add is 99% of Sega's fault. Evening Star and Takashi Iizuka were in talks for Mania 2. However, Iizuka wanted to stray away from sprite-based Sonic games and go for a hand-drawn or 2.5D style. I wonder how the story continued. And that's all the Sonic games I could find were scrapped. Granted, there's probably a shit ton I couldn't find information on, so that's all I say. Maybe if more games come out that were scrapped, we can come back to this topic. Now, I'm sorry, we have plans for a new Big Sleeter episode after this one got cancelled, so if you excuse me, the executives threatened to quit if they made that episode.